We are back for another exciting episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. I have a special guest joining us today. I'm pretty excited. I'm always excited for my guests, to be honest with you. My guest today is Murthy Chitlur. Murthy, welcome to our show. Thank you very much for joining us. I know this is one of our international guests today. Can you tell the audience where you're streaming from?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thanks, Nnamdi. Thanks for having me on the show. I am definitely really excited to share my knowledge on this. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on which part of the geography you are in. Because I am based out of Bangalore, the called as a Silicon City of India, and pretty much that's it. It's in the Bangalore is in southern part of India.
Excellent. And what we're going to be discussing today is, can blockchain consortiums disrupt the financial services industry? It's a very interesting topic. I've been excited to have Murthy on as a guest to really jump into it. Before we get into it, as you know, of our show, it is the Tech Behind FinTech. We give a brief overview on some new stuff that we found interesting, and then we jump into the topic. But obviously, first things first, before even jumping into that topic, the first thing we have to do is read Murthy's extensive bio, which I'm pretty excited. I'm always excited to read my guest bio. They do some really amazing stuff, and I like highlighting that. So, without further ado, let's go for it. Murthy Chitlur is a senior technology professional, entrepreneur, and passionate blockchain practitioner with extensive experience of more than 2 decades in India and the USA, with an expertise in service delivery, product development, capability development, consulting, client management with leading technology and services organizations. He has worked with big firms such as Intel, AOL, and has also consulted for global clients such as WellPoint, Anthem, Caremark, Mattel, ABB, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Saab, and various other domains like healthcare, insurance, energy, mortgages, e-commerce, online games, internet service, media, CRM, banking, and manufacturing. He is currently working with the New Street Technologies, a startup in BFSI domain based out of Bangalore, India. He is heading IT for their flagship product, Mythix, multi-interface financial exchange, which is pioneering blockchain-based ecosystems that connect banks, non-banking financial corporations, and other financial institutions seamlessly with their customers and other entities. Murthy is a co-author of the book Blockchain Consortiums, a Comprehensive Handbook, which is the first book on blockchain consortiums targeting blockchain practitioners and business leaders. It's a mouthful, man. Good stuff. Sounds like an amazing career.
Thank you.
Definitely happy to have you join us today. So let's first of all, let me shout out to my audience. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys. I see about like a couple of numbers on LinkedIn. So everyone, we're streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Do me a favor, please. If you're listening, give me a quick shout out on the chat screen in any one of those platforms in the comments of LinkedIn. Will be greatly appreciated as always, just so I can know you're there. All right, so you know what? Because you're dialed in from India, I want to really kind of jump into the Indian fintech ecosystem, which has grown rapidly. One of the quotes that I saw, the Indian fintech ecosystem has grown rapidly during the pandemic. We have seen an exponential growth in digital lending, which has poised a tremendous adoption in digital payments. Given its impressive growth trajectory, the sector even holds enough potential to drive recovery for the entire country. And this can be achieved by strong collaborations between banks and fintech players to craft and offer best customer experience, catering to their emergency needs at critical juncture. I like this. So they say the pandemic is in fact has given a push to every bank and fintech to innovate further and address the pain points to customers using state-of-the-art technologies. With such an approach, the fintech industry is expected to exponentially grow in India over the next 5 years. What are your thoughts for that? From that?
Yeah, definitely. The whatever you have read about now is absolutely true. Especially the fintech revolution in India started in the last 5 to 6 years. The main trigger was the demonetization, which was announced by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and that is the quick start. Even the last person in the rural India today is enabled to use the digital transactions on his mobile phone. And of course, thanks to the cheap internet, which is available relatively cheap. I don't say it's very cheap, relatively cheap internet and the affordable smartphones. So everyone is able to use the digital transactions on their smartphones today.
No, that's interesting. Okay, before I jump into that, because I asked a couple of questions around that, let me shout out an audience. Shalini is here. Thank you very much for posting. Appreciate you, Shalini. Happy Friday to you. It was another stat that I read that I found very interesting that you mentioned it. So, population-wise, in 2019, India was around 1.3 billion, and internet users are 560 million in 2019. China leads 854 million internet users and 1.398 billion people. Third is the U.S. in terms of internet users at 313 million. So, it kind of is totally in line with what you just said with the internet access and the phones and the fintech market really taking off over there. Another stat that I have around that is as of July 2020, India's fintech startups landscape counts 405 companies in payments, 365 in lending, 313 in wealth tech, 173 in personal finance management, 111 in insurtech, 58 in reg tech and cybersecurity, according to a research paper released by Medici. Most of these startups are located in Bengaluru, Mumbai, which between them two represent 40% of all the country's fintech startup headquarters. That's in line with what you've noticed as well?
Right. Yeah. Probably the numbers might be much more than in last 1 year again. There might be some new startups which are added, and the new arenas are coming out, and people are becoming quite innovative, and especially getting into every sector of the society. It might be just a simple banking transaction. It might be just paying your like a peer-to-peer payments. It is so simple, just with the flick of a button. You don't even touch a button. You just need to swipe. That's it. Done. Boom.
Because it's one thing for me being here in the U.S. obviously to read stats and stuff like that. It's another to talk to someone who's actually there, living it, interacting, part of the society. So I'm always interested to see, we have guests on from different parts of the world. I'm always interested to see how, the stats are one thing, but what do you see there living day to day, people at different economic situations, interacting with purchasing items and just moving through life. I'm always curious to learn more about that from that angle.
Can you please repeat the question?
It's more so it's more of a statement. I'm always interested to hear, talking to someone who lives in the particular place. I might read some stats about a country, but having insight from someone who's living day to day and interacting, actually lives there, I always find I get a different perspective on that. Sorry, Murthy, you can't hear me?
Completely muffled and it's breaking.
Oh wow, that's not good. Is anyone else? So wait, let's is from the audience. Can you guys hear us clearly? Just want to make sure. Who make excited to hear from the experts. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hey guys, let me know in the audience if you can hear us clearly. Just want to make sure.
So I'm able to hear you now, but
you can hear me now. Okay, that's
it's
good.
Breaking. But it's a broken voice, kind of. I'm not able to make out your sentences properly.
Okay, everybody's saying they could hear it. Okay, everyone from thanks guys. I see everyone's coming in saying they could hear us right now. from the audience, they could hear us. It's the first time having this. You know, sometimes when we go through some international channels, we get, depending on everyone's network. But yeah, on this side, people can hear us. So let's continue and move on. All right. So listen, let's get into. I think that's before we get into blockchain consortiums. There's one thing I also saw regarding, not really in finance per se, but it's a blockchain consortium example. So Louis Vuitton, Cartier, and Prada, they formed a blockchain consortium along working with Ethereum's and Consensus, and basically it's called Aura. That's the code name for it. And the goal for their blockchain consortium is to tackle counterfeit goods. So it's a collective effort aims to give shoppers a level of assurance that pricey products being purchased are authentic. That's an example. So let's use that segue to first say what is a blockchain consortium, and based on that, because I think you read the article, like, can you just describe what they're doing so the audience can understand that?
Sure. Before getting into that, I just have to tell you what a consortium is. So as in a general term, we know that consortium is nothing but a group of like-minded companies or organizations coming together to achieve a common purpose. So exactly on the same lines, Blockchain Consortium is a consortium of different organizations coming together to achieve a common purpose by using blockchain technology and building services around it. So in such one example, Aura, whatever you mentioned now, is one of the consortiums which formed by these luxury brands like LVMH, that is Louis Vuitton, then Cartier and Prada. And it's been built on Ethereum. Ethereum is one of the protocols or the blockchain platform, I can say. It's built on that one. And this particular consortium, we categorize it as a provenance. Means if customer wants to know exactly, okay, whatever the product he is buying, it's genuine, it's authentic or not. So they have built a consortium with like-minded. Here again, I'm just using those terms so that audience understand clearly about the blockchain consortium part, so that the customers will not be faked. I mean, they wouldn't be cheated because of the counterfeit, and that is what the exercise Aura has done.
Yeah, so with that, they basically have this similar technology. Although they are competitors in the market, they are leveraging this. They're coming together to leverage this technology to basically, it looks like they're going through the supply chain in this one example. And we're going to get into various case studies as it relates to finance, but I thought that would be a good segue in. A couple of stuff from the audience. So, Jeff, thank you very much. We broke up now, but you said the audio's fine. I see various people. Brian, thank you very much for letting us know. Definitely appreciate it. Pavan, definitely thank you. I guess everyone's saying that. Chigozi, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, cool. So let's, all right, so we have a question. So Shalini, so this helps in brand counterfeit protection. That's exactly correct. And what's important, I think, to note in that particular use case, right? They are all competitors, but they are coming together for this common goal and investing in this technology to help for counterfeit protection. So, that's something that we're going to see as we go through the use case, different competitors actually working together, for the benefit of their industry and also themselves as well. We have a question from the audience from Sridhar. If the consortium, out of 10 in a group, 6 are fake, then how can we handle? Do you want to take that question on?
Yeah, definitely. If a consortium, out of 10 in group, 6 are fake, then how we can handle?
So I think he means if we have a consortium, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he means if 10 of the products are in the group, but 6 are fake, how can it handle? How can that be handled? You want to take a stab at it? I have an idea, but go.
Okay. From the perspective of the question, what I understand, let me answer it in a different way. So there is no question of here 6 out of 10 or anything. Ultimately, the consortium aim is to remove that counterfeit products completely. If it is a counterfeit, obviously the customer will get to know that, okay, this product is not sourced from that particular genuine manufacturer or anything. And okay, going one step beyond that again, if it is a counterfeit product, let's assume. So because of the traceability and auditability of the blockchain, you were able to find out exactly at what point of time the counterfeit product got induced into the system. So ideally, we are trying to avoid the counterfeiting of the products over here.
So, no, thank you very much for that answer. So I went on Amazon and I purchased your book. Reading through it and stuff like that. One of the terms that I saw that was interested is co-opetition, right? And I think it was a term started in the 90s. Can you elaborate on that? The importance of it.
Co-opetition is the base of the consortium. So basically, the industries or the business leaders have started realizing that you cannot just be the competitors, or you cannot just fight with the competitors. Now you have to come together, and if you want to realize the true value of the blockchain business, they need to be work with the competitors and create the system. So that is what co-opetition is, which means clearly all of us know that it's a willingness to work with your competitors together. So that is a base of a consortium, and most of the, as per the recent surveys, it is being clearly mentioned that most of the industrialists have realized that, and that is where the number of consortium increase have already started. We at this point of time, we do have like around more than 150 to 200 consortiums in the world across different domains at different stages.
So that's interesting. So can we like jump into some of the obvious benefits of a consortium, and let's really tie it to the financial services industry?
Sure. When it comes to the benefits, it gets into all the consortiums here, not only the financial, but obviously whatever we are going to mention, you can directly link it to the financial industries. So first one is coming the driving standardizations. Next one, we talk about the economical gains. So this is one of the important thing, because any stakeholder or any participants who wants to be part of a consortium, everyone is concentrating upon the economical gain. So consortium is that is one of the benefits there. And other one is about the expedited learning. So just imagine you, with the change in technology and with the speed of the things changing in the current world, an individual company, if they want to upgrade themselves, if they want to learn some new technology and they want to adopt it, the amount of time they take, and at the same time getting a domain knowledge or different from the different areas. So the consortium reduces the time because sharing is happening over there. And along with this learning, then another thing what they say is the risk. So you want to get into a new area, you want to implement new technology. For example, blockchain, it's relatively new technology, and many companies, of course, still 1 or 2 years back were scared to implement it or rather try it out. So this kind of risk can be shared through the consortium, and whatever the product, whatever the service they are going to build, because of multiple people involved in the industry are part of the consortium, we can maintain the lifespan of those products and services. And since everyone is from different, it can be different geography, it can be different areas in the same country or industries across. So getting the adoption rate the increases because of the blockchain consortiums. So every point of this one ties up with all the consortiums, obviously the financial part.
No, thanks for that. And let me just go. I think we have another comment from the audience. So I think this is back to our original question. So just to clarify, with the example that we put with the Louis Vuitton Cartier and Prada, I don't know the details of that, but just by looking at the outside in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, it's not necessarily with the courts accepted. It's more so looking at that supply chain, and for the end user, they have now the ability to trace if their product is authentic. So it kind of shows it, like I said, outside looking in, it kind of just shows from a supply chain management, your authenticity. So now you kind of have proof with that, and it's an industry wide. So as they connect their suppliers and things of that nature, they're able to see that. But like I said, that's just me giving an overview from the news article. I'm not an expert in terms of that particular use case, but just giving some clarity as to what I would assume the benefit is. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So let's go by the same example where there is no blockchain, or there is no provenance or the blockchain consortium over here or blockchain network over here. What generally we do have a product, we do have a receipt I bought from this particular customer, and I'm able to prove that this is the product which is not the original one. Likewise, it will become more easier in the when we have the blockchain because everything is one of the main factor of the blockchain is trust, and we have the complete data which cannot be tampered, so everyone has to agree. But when it comes to the court, I cannot say that every court has started accepting it now, but few of the courts in at least in the United States, I know that they are accepting the blockchain data and the smart contracts as legal things, but not across the globe. That regulations has to be brought in, and I think there are a lot of research and discussions are happening on that front.
So, let's take a step back in terms of where now companies trying to form this consortium. So I know obviously there's different blockchains that we can leverage for that, whether it's Hyperledger, Ethereum, R3. But let's start talking to the audience and help them understand how that architecture works. So if 2 or 3 companies came together, how does that process work?
Only on the consortium formation you are referring to, or on the different different platforms?
More so, like, to keep it generic, but on the consortium process, right? And in terms of, because I know obviously the implementation on an Ethereum versus Hyperledger is going to be slightly different, but just to understand how does that process work in terms of them coming together and forming it?
Sure. This here, I would like to break it into 3 different points.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing is first comes the consortium formation, and obviously all the points whatever you mentioned is very clearly written in our book, that Blockchain Consortiums, a Comprehensive Handbook. Okay. Let me come to the formation part. There are certain rules and steps involved in the consortium formation. So at this point of time, we are not worried about the technology or what platform we are going to use. Ultimate first thing comes the memorandum of understanding and pre-consortium agreement. So all the companies have to agree at that point of time, okay, what is the rules they are going to follow, and what is the different parameters they are going to be following as part of their on-chain, off-chain governance. They have to define the governance structure. That is very important for a blockchain consortium. So then comes about the technology part. So where there is a mutual agreement between the participants about what technology they are going to use, and then only they are going to adopting it based on the due diligence and study done by them. It might be Ethereum, it might be Hyperledger, or it may be R3 Coda, or it might be Ripple, or any other platforms, depending upon the use case what they are trying to do. So this is the second part I mentioned you. So third question is about, like you mentioned, about different platforms, how they work. So that is what we call as interoperability. So if there are, depending upon different use cases, if the consortium need to use multiple platforms, obviously that interoperability has to be achieved. And at this point of time, interoperability is not matured enough, but yes, a lot of companies have been working on those things, and different kind of interoperability is already been tested and get used in production also.
And so I know sometimes when we talk about blockchain, it's pretty public. But in this particular instance, this is a private blockchain. Only the members of that consortium will interact with each other. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, when we talk about the private consortium, yes, it's only it's a limited amount of participants, not the limited amount, only the permission given participants will be involved. And when we talk about the public network, that is different totally. That is currently the Bitcoin or Ethereum. But when we talk about the business consortiums, it will be more or less the private consortiums.
Okay, Shalini, thanks for answering. I appreciate it. No problem. Thanks for asking the question. Really appreciate the interaction. Yeah. So So let's get into some use cases that you've seen in the financial side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we talk about the financial side, but I think we have to understand like couple of things.
Okay.
Advantage or the benefits of blockchain in finance. So which will easily make the audience understand about why blockchain consortiums are so important. So one is the basic features of the blockchain, and then comes the security, the transparency, trust, and economic gain, whatever I mentioned, and are few of the things which are very important, and which are like the benefits of using blockchain in finance. So when we talk about the finance, then we can break easily into like a capital markets, asset management, then we can break it into banking, lending, payments, and most important thing is trade finance. So at this point of time, the capital markets and asset management, there are the whole all the points or all the business lines of capital market asset management is being not explored completely by the blockchain. And most important thing there right now, which is already being used and in production, is the clearance and settlements. And there are many other projects happening on that. Two important projects I would like to mention over is, one is Project Jasper, which is basically a consortium based by the Bank of Canada and Payments Canada TMX Group, along with R3 Coda. So they have been a consortium which has been formed, and one of the main use case is the settlement layer for financial assets. And next important consortium or the project which I can mention here is a project Ubin, which is based out of Singapore, wherein there is a monetary authority of Singapore with several other stakeholders have worked on different phases, which is covering the complete financial sector, whether it is only the exchange, whether it is trade finance, whether it is about the payments, whether it is about the insurance, whether it is about the digital payment part, everything. So Project Ubin has become one of the real example of the consortium or real example of the blockchain for the financial sector.
Let's get into Jasper. Can you walk us through just how exactly does that work? If you have some information on that, that would be greatly appreciated, just to help further understand that use case. Because you mentioned it's in Canada, and you mentioned three different aspects of the clearing and settlement. Can we go back into that?
Yeah, I do not have too much details about how
Okay.
exactly it's been implemented or how exactly it is being done. Because there are multiple projects working in the different protocols and the way, and what is the use case they are trying to solve over there, and what is the problem statement based on that.
Okay, no, totally interesting. No, I'm fascinated by it. I know even outside of finance, I was listening to something IBM is doing with the food bank, and they have a bunch of Walmart, just various suppliers involved, and they're able to now track food. So I'm fascinated with the whole consortium, obviously with the Tech Behind FinTech. So it really geared towards the financial side, but just the overall technology and the industries coming together to then leverage the information and leverage the blockchain behind it to basically facilitate industry transactions. I find fascinating. I know a few episodes ago we had a CEO, Brian Young, over from Home Lending Pal, and I think they're using Hyperledger in a consortium fashion, working with different lenders and basically putting a lot of information on that particular blockchain. It's privatized, so there's definitely different use cases coming about with it. So it's definitely very interesting. So from your book, I see some characteristics that you have that can make for a successful consortium, and some of it, I'll start it and I'll let you continue. You have a shared vision, good communication. You have sound policies and procedures. I read. You also stated effective financial risk and environmental management systems, a clear understanding of practical details. So like I say, it's a real good book. I was reading some parts of it to get a better understanding of the consortium, and I like those characteristics. Can can you want to talk more about that, or are there additional characteristics beyond what I talked about in the book?
No, pretty much you covered everything. Like we have detailed everything in the book, and but coming to the success, I mean, I would say that I would take it in a different route on what are the success factors for consortium rather than the characteristics.
Okay.
So here I would say that there are like mainly we have identified like 5 main parameters. The most important thing is the business use case. So on what basis the consortium, or why the consortium is getting formed, to solve what. And next important thing comes is the governance. Next is operation, data privacy, and the regulation part. So we emphasize more on the first 2 things, especially the business use case and governance. Like for example, one of the consortiums, I would say Comgo, which is in the trade finance. They are trying to solve the issue in the commodity trading, and it's one of the trade finance related consortium, and especially concentrating on the commodities. So their problem statement is like a known thing, like the amount of time it is taking to do the complete transaction, and the amount of paperwork they're going to do. And based on all these things, I will just give you some statistics over here.
Yeah, please. Love stats. I always my favorite line. I said it a couple episodes before. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So,
yeah.
So I always like that.
So as per certain research, it was clearly shown that Comgo is planning to bring at least 32 to 40% of increase in the cash flow when the system is completely utilized by everyone. And again, they are expecting to facilitate around 20 to 50% reduction in the operating cost when they have the industry-wide adoption. So these are some of the advantages of this blockchain consortium. And again, the trade finance part, depending upon what kind of operations they are doing, they do take like a few weeks to few months to get the loan or complete the transaction. But here they have one of the tests done by Comgo. They have reduced the issuing a letter of credit, which used to take 10 days, into 1 hour. So that is clearly that 99.6% reduction in the time. So if we collectively see these advantages, so that clearly shows the advantages of blockchain consortiums.
So another aspect, so when everyone forms this consortium, there has to be some sort of leader or some sort of driving forces in the group. How does that process work?
See, everyone who come to the consortium have their own interest over there. See, and at the same time, it is not, they don't come to the consortium because of the technology, but they come over there, what advantage they are getting out of that particular technology. So they do not emphasize on the technology what consortium is using, but advantages of that is what is important. And before they coming, here I would like to add, what motivates them to come to the consortiums. See, the whole business scenario is like that. At the end of the day, if the companies don't become a part of the blockchain consortium, maybe down the line in 5 years or 10 years, I don't have that number, but they feel that, we are getting left out, and they will be obligated, or they will be forced to join the consortium. That is how the system is going to gain. And expanding the same part, I would say that we have dedicated one particular chapter in the book with respect to how to test your readiness for the blockchain consortium. Means whether you want to start a consortium or whether you want to join an existing consortium, we have given certain parameters to measure yourself. Based on the score, you can decide whether you are ready to join a consortium or not. There, it clearly shows about whether you need it, or how much the company is interested in joining, and what are they gaining out of it.
No, that's interesting. So, I like that. Let's dive into that for a second, because how would a company know that they're ready to start one? Like, what are some of those questions they have to ask themselves?
Yeah, at the high level, I can give. Going to every question, probably there are like many questions. So
high level, obviously, and then obviously we want people to buy the book so they can get more details. But from a high level, what is
we'll say that, for example, that company's technology readiness, and companies the business readiness. So we have questions below each of the category to check that readiness, and we have given a certain score based on that answers for them, which gives a measure. Okay, if they are like around 60 to 70%, under what category they fall in. If they are like below 60%, like 40 to 60 what. And if they're below 40%, we would say, okay, fine, no, you need to prepare well to be a part of a consortium yet.
Interesting. And when you say the technology ready, just their internal controls, or just having the technology for the consortium itself? Like, what do you?
It's multiple things. One is if they have the whatever the business line they are in, are they tech ready for that one? Or whatever the technology, already if they're planning to get into the existing consortium, they have to study about, okay, whether the technology is something falls in lines of what they are planning to get the business gains out of it.
Got a question right here. Could the link be supplied for the book in the question? Sure. You know what I'll do? I'll also, so everyone can get it. What I would do is, I know if you put the book title should be in the description of the book title is actually in the description of the show. You put that in Amazon. It's the only book on Consortium, so it's easily found. And what I'm going to do right now, so everyone can get it, I'll put the title of the book in the chat. And this way, all the platforms can see the title of the book. You put that in Amazon. You should be able to see it. So hopefully everybody saw that. The book is called. Let me bring it to the forefront. That's the title of the book. So if you now all the platforms, it's just going to be on video now. So you can just pause the video. You put that in the future when you watch it, you can put that book title in Amazon or anywhere where you buy books, and you can find it along with Murthy's name. And once you put his name and the book title, you'll be able to find it. Hope that answered your question, Jeff. Let me get this out. All right, yeah. So the book titles, it's on all platforms right now. Jeff said, "Thank you. You are very welcome, my friend. Thank you very much." Yeah. So listen, I know it's late on your end. So I really thank you for taking the time out, because I know we have a time zone difference. Can we give an overall summary before we close out on what's your take on how the blockchain consortiums will impact the financial services industry? I know what they're doing in Singapore, you mentioned in Canada, and also you mentioned the use case where they received 99.9% efficiency in implementing it. What's your take moving forward on the future and how this works?
Definitely. I would like to close that by giving one more example on the.
Of course.
Okay, this is specifically in the lending industry, which is one of the very early consortium based out of India. So the consortium is in the microfinance lending, and the platform is called MyFix, which obviously we read about. It is called multi interface for financial exchange. So this is one of the innovative thought process by the founders, which is helping the microfinance industry, and of course the other corresponding industries, which obviously I don't want to get in depth of those things. But when it get in the right now, it is like around a 10 node consortium, wherein bringing the banks, NBFCs means non-banking financial corporations, and the financial institutions together with delivery partners and other corresponding entity to the customers. So giving the example to answer your question about how exactly I see about the consortium, you can see that this particular consortium has brought down the process of lending, microfinance lending, which was going like beyond 15 days to 3 days now. Okay. And with more automation, they are targeting to bring it to like few hours, which is obviously possible. So you can see with these examples where we are heading towards. And as of now, the adoption of blockchain in the financial industry is maximum. And among all the consortiums in the world, I think around 70 plus or around a number of consortiums are in the finance domain. So that clearly shows where we are heading and how exactly it is going to disrupt the financial market in coming years.
No, thank you for that. That's extremely insightful. And thank you for that last use case that you shared. So, do me a favor, Murthy. Can you tell people how to find you, to find your book, and information on what you guys are doing?
Sure, definitely. Thanks everyone for being part of the show, and of course, Nnamdi once again giving the opportunity to address the questions raised by the audience. I think that this was a useful session. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and of course, the LinkedIn is under the same name, Murthy Chitlur. That is the best place to reach me out, and you can ask any questions, clarifications required on blockchain or blockchain consortium. I will be more than happy to help you all.
And I'm gonna post Murthy's book before right now. Once again, Blockchain Consortiums, a Comprehensive Handbook. It's a very straightforward read. I downloaded it on Kindle myself just so I can have it. And you know, I'm obviously interested in blockchain and all that stuff. So it's good to understand this and how it can help certain industries. Listen, Murthy, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out to come to the show and breaking down and giving us an overview on blockchain consortiums and also different aspects of your book. I truly appreciate it. I consider you a friend of the show. So when, you know, if big news breaks out around something happening in blockchain consortiums in the future, I want to bring you back on to really dive deep into that topic.
I definitely would be glad to be part of it.
So wait, before we take off, we have a couple of comments from Renee Small, my buddy. Very interesting topic. Very interesting indeed. We're going to talk more about that offline because obviously, I mean, she's in the cybersecurity recruitment space, and I can see blockchain consortiums being used in that particular vertical totally when it comes to people. So let's see from Shalini. Can a blockchain consultant firm propose a consortium to an entire industry and hope to bring the competing partners to work together, or should a leading company of the industry initiate the consortium? Hope not late in asking. No, you're perfectly fine. Questions are always accepted. What are your thoughts with that?
Sure.
Good question too.
Okay. Yeah. No, definitely it is a very good question by Shalini. Shalini, thanks for asking the right question. It's not late at all, don't worry. Yeah, both the options are possible. Any company, if they have a plan or if they have a design or if they have a purpose, they can always propose to the businesses in that particular domain and form a consortium. But having a leading company in that particular domain always helps and expedite and speed up the process of forming a consortium, because there is a word or there is already a trust or maybe the belief on that particular company on that in that line of business. So the second approach would be the fastest, but first approach also is something which can always be done.
Man, I guess that's a good question, because that's another thought. Is like, you have this idea, you're in the industry, like even with the use case, because the use case you mentioned, that was the same company in your bio. How are those relationships formed? Like, do they, like you said, I guess the step that you just outlined, right? Come up with the proposal, the white paper, or whatever you want to call it, really break it down, show the benefits. And if you take the lead in terms of the technology implementation and show the steps, I mean, you know, it's a conversation at that point, and if people see the benefits, they can sign on. But like anything, right? If you could have a major industry leader talking or supporting that effort, it's a lot easier to get others on board. So, yeah, it makes total sense. Makes total sense. We're gonna let's because sometimes questions come in slow. Before we take off, because I know like I want to make sure we get all the questions answered, because it's definitely a very interesting topic that I think people can dive into, and also, you know, look into Murthy's book. I think it's definitely a good book to get a good idea of blockchain consortiums if you're unfamiliar, you want to gain more interest in it.
And also, we have done research on several consortiums and have given around 50 consortiums examples in the book.
Oh, awesome! I didn't get to that part yet. Yeah, so I definitely, but I have it in my Kindle, so I'm going to be taking a look at it. I'm very interested in it for some use cases actually with a client. I'm thinking about a client and we're having a conversation. And I think that's another thing, right, before we take off, is sometimes people get caught up in the technology. And, as technologists, I mean, okay, but you really have to really define your business use case. That's the most important thing. The technology is a tool to facilitate it, automate it, make it more efficient, but the use case itself is the most important. So I'm definitely, there's a conversation I was having about a week ago regarding a certain industry, and I was talking about ecosystems. And another stat before we close out, it's not just related to consortiums, but the ecosystem economy is expected to hit 60 trillion by 2025. So, that's that whole whether the ecosystem is in the individual company itself, forming random things with, other different components of their company to offer to their customers, or building an entire ecosystem within an industry. That entire market is going to hit 60 trillion. It was a crazy stat that I read. So it's definitely something to look into, especially how consortiums can support the ecosystem economy. Listen, I don't think there are any other questions. Murthy, once again, thank you very much for your time today. And thank you for sharing everything. And I'm going to plug your book one more time before we close, so it's on video forever.
Sure.
Guys, just, that's the title of Murthy's book, Blockchain Consortiums, a Comprehensive Handbook. I think, as he mentioned, it's like the first book on blockchain consortiums with the research. So definitely a real niche subject. If you're interested in this particular movement, it's there for you. The information is there. Once again,
and Nnamdi, again, I would like to use this opportunity again. I would like to thank the other two authors also, who have commendably contributed towards making the book so good. One is Mr. Srinivas Mahankali, who is a very good friend of mine, and Varun Singhi, who is another friend of mine. So it is a contribution from all the three, which made the book so interesting.
That's excellent. Definitely interesting. And that's good that you plug your co-authors. I'm going to leave the book title. We have another comment from Shalini. Thanks. Highly interesting. Appreciate the live interaction, Nnamdi and Murthy. Thanks for your answers too. Must have more of these. Every week at 12 p.m. We have the show, the Tech Behind FinTech. We have different topics. So definitely tune in weekly, 12 p.m. EST live. Thanks so much, Nnamdi and Murthy. Great topic. Thanks, Jeff. And thank you, Jeff. Jeff is constantly on our show every week. He's an avid watcher and listener to the show. So I appreciate you, man. Definitely. All right, I think that will be it. Let's close this out. To all, have a happy Friday, happy weekend. Murthy, thank you again, and you take care of yourself.
Same here, everyone. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend and stay safe.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.